Alright everyone, so for this video, mag-start off tayo with DNL, no? Now, tong DNL, I was actually waiting for it to close above tong 7.45 na area. Bakit 7.45? Kasi if you look to the left, it's an area na inflection point. Meaning it has acted as support, diba? Support, and resistance before. Diba? In fact, nung bumalik tayo dyan, in yesterday's candle, dyan tayo nakahanap ng resistance before closing above it in today's candle. Okay? Now, from there, ano yung mga potential scenarios na pwede natin tignan? Now, scenario number 1 is kung maakuha sana tayo ng magandang pullback papunta dito sa purple zone, tapos makakuha tayo ng magandang rejection or mag-hold yung area na yan, then that's perhaps somewhere where you could look to possibly get into dito sa DNL. A pullback there, tas mag-hold tayo, could signify na yun nga, patuloy yung low, high, diba? Higher low, higher high, sorry, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high na structure natin, diba? So it's possible na yan yung magpapakita na at least in the interim, we can start pushing higher pa. Also, diba nag-form tayo ng inverse head and shoulders dito. A break above 7.45 yung tinitignan ko sana as a more of parang general approximation of where I wanted to put yung neckline. Bakit doon? Kasi kung kunwari titignan mo, ito yung previous high, waiting for price to just simply break above that, parang mauuntog ka dito sa mga previous supports na to. So it just didn't make sense. I wanted an area na mas malinis, more or less. Kasi if we can come back and break above and start holding nitong 7.48, I do believe it opens up this range hanggang 7.75 all the way hanggang potentially mabalikan tong area of supply na to around 7.80 something to 8 pesos. Okay? Pero again, those are just two of the potential scenarios. Either mag-hold tayo dito and start pushing higher, or we flag a little bit, pull back into this purple zone. Yun yung ideal sana, para magsundo ng konti bago siya magpatuloy kung tutuloy man siya. Ang ayaw nating makita dito sa DNL is for price to come back beneath this purple zone, test it from underneath, mag-hold, then roll over. Kasi kung ganon, biglang magiging mas sideways yung itsura ng chart. Parang kung nai-imagine nyo, magiging ganito na yung itsura niya. Diba? Moving to the side rather than trying to push from yung inverse head and shoulders na nag-form. Ang nangyari is parang binabalikan mo lang yung right shoulder low. So parang kung ganun yung nangyari, iisipin mo na, teka, baka gusto niya mag-sideways muna pang samantala. Now, trading the range isn't a bad thing in and of itself as long as yun yung expectation nyo as you head into the trade. Pero kung kunwari ang expectation nyo was mag-pullback dyan, ibabay nyo kasi feeling nyo from there lilipad, syempre, maaaring hindi mabuo yung tinitignan nyo or inaabangan ninyo. Diba? So, yun lang naman yung tinitignan natin dito sa DNL, no? Kung mabasag tong 6.8, the next level of support will be around 6.6. And if that breaks, yung low na tayo nung head, nung inverse head and shoulders. But for now, I think this bears watching. It's worth watching kung ano yung gagawin niya next to see if may opportunity kayong makukuha dito moving forward based on whatever system it is that you guys use. Next, tignan natin tong MerryMart or yung MM, no? Now, as you can see, we have been flowing down. It has been on a downtrend for a prolonged period of time. Okay? Now, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see na parang sinusubukan din niyang magbuo ng parang medyo matabang inverse head and shoulders na pattern, no? Or kung ayaw nyo man ng inverse head and shoulders, feeling nyo masyado ng wide, then perhaps a cup and handle pattern could form somewhere around the area. And if so, that could be an opportunity to potentially take a trade dito sa MerryMart. Now, I know some of you will likely be looking na, oh, nag-breakout na ba to sa Bebemon, nag-breakout na ba to sa ganyan, and that's all fine and well. Okay? Kung kunwari pasok sa system nyo, then it's something that you might want to consider. After all, volume nito has been increasing din kahit papano compared sa past ilang weeks, diba? It's still not as high as it was before dito, but at least we're getting a positive spike. Okay? Now, what I would personally want to see from here sana, Kung mabasag natin tong 1.69, I think that opens up this wider range above between 1.69 to 1.94, which I do believe is a very tradable range. So if we can get a breakout from there, pull back, mag-hold tayo. Hindi ko pa alam saan ko siya gusto mag-hold kasi hindi pa buo yung structure natin eh. But probably somewhere around this area, mag-hold tayo, we start pushing higher, then a trade could potentially be had dito sa MM. However, kung kunwari from here, let's say, yes, ito na, we're pushing higher. Pero nag-shooting star tayo today, di ba? Tapos tumulak tayo pababa from here and we actually break beneath tong 1.4. Now, we can watch there kung nag-fill tong gap, ano mangyayari? Mag-react ba? Mag-bounce ba agad? Or kung nag-fill siya, tutuloy ba tayo to the downside? Kung tumuloy, then the likely scenario is babalikan natin tong 1.2. And obviously, if that breaks, bagong 52-week low na naman dito sa MM. And syempre, kailangan na naman natin hintayin na mag-develop siya and assess from there what it looks like kung pwede ba siyang i-trade moving forward. But for now, I also think this is a worthwhile addition to your watch list. Diba? Again, syempre, depende po yan kung paano kayo mag-trade, saan kayo komportable, anong sistema yung gamit nyo. But it could, be worthwhile to add it to your watch list and see what it does moving forward if it does something interesting na pwede nating i-trade para in the hopes na mag-start na to, mag-push pataas ulit, balikan niya tong 1.69, balikan niya yung 2 peso area, and so on. Next, let's talk about MONDE, no? Now, itong MONDE, I was actually telling one of my Patreons noon, sumalo siya around 13. Sabi ko, pwedeng mauntog yung price dito sa supply zone na to. So, if you were just playing for the bounce, you might want to get out. Okay? Pero syempre, as we can see, dyan naman talaga unang nag-react yung price eh. In fact, naipit tayo dyan for a couple of weeks before eventually breaking out of that zone and moving to the upside. Now, bumalik tayo dito sa upper level of supply, tapos dyan naman tayo nakakahanap ng reaction in price. In fact, yung previous level ko at 15.5 was barely respected. Price came up, tagged it for a day, diba? The next day, it tried to push lower, pero we pushed to the upside, then we started moving higher from there. Now, based on all of that, ano yung pwede na nating i-assess dito sa MONDE? First of all, bumalik lang tayo dito sa wider range na to. Kung titignan natin, ito yung swing low mo, swing high, bumalik, binalikan natin yung swing low, nag-double bottom tayo, pushed higher. So, for all we know, ito muna yung nangyayari. Okay, we are trading within this very wide range. Now, I will acknowledge it's a very wide range, and if you're a more long-term trader, then it's something that you might want to consider. I am not a very long-term trader, so I don't look at things that way. Okay, so if you want something na, okay, kunyari bumabato ulit dito, mag-hold to, ano pwede kong gawin, then that's something you might want to consider dito sa MONDE. Diba? Or perhaps, kunwari talagang bullish kayo sa MONDE, a pullback into this white zone, tapos with subsequent na bullish price action could be something din na pwede nyo i-consider dito sa MONDE moving forward. Now, kung kunwari from here, nag-pullback tayo, binasag niya tong white zone altogether, I honestly think na best case scenario is mag-range na lang tayo. Whether you want to trade the smaller ranges, whether you want to trade the wider range, that's completely on you and fully dependent on how you view the charts and how you are as a trader. Pero, paano kung kunwari from here, basagin natin tong 16.7 na area? Kung basagin natin yung 16.7 na area, tas let's say mag-consolidate tayo dito for a little bit, then maybe we start a push higher. Balikan natin tong mga highs na naiwan from before. Okay? Kasi nga, syempre, tumutulak nga naman ang karamihan ng index name. So, it's not a big surprise na itong malaking kumpanyang to tumutulak din, di ba? So, if we can start holding above this, maybe see a push to the upside, maybe we can see price go back dito sa previous high around 18 point something, all the way hanggang dito, mga 19 point something. But at that point, you have to start considering kung kunwari na hit nyo nga yung mga targets nyo if the chart is looking a bit overextended by then. Kasi after all, yes, tumutulak ang index lately, but the volume, kumbaga yung regular volume traded natin within the PSE itself still hasn't gone back to yung quote-unquote normal. Okay, so while we should be optimistic, we should also be cautious. So, be cautiously optimistic or be optimistically cautious depending on how you view things. Next, tignan po natin yung MRC, no? Now, MRC, similar sa MerryMart, it has been on a downtrend for a prolonged period of time. Okay? So, I just wanted to show it to you para lang clear, no? Now, let's zoom in a bit para we can talk about this in greater detail. Now, from here, what we can see, number one, is we are caught within this range sa baba between 0.167 hanggang 0.2, more or less. Alright? Kung kunwari mabasag natin tong 0.2 na area na to, then I think that opens up this range above from 0.2 hanggang 0.22. And if 0.22 breaks, perhaps we could even come back dito sa 0.24. However, all that being said, where we are right now, we have to consider na part pa rin siya ng larger downtrend. Wala naman nagbago structurally speaking eh. If you look at the chart, yung previous swing high talaga prior to this collapse lower here, one could argue would be this. So para masabi natin na may nagbago, na pwede na tayong mag-form ng bagong higher highs and higher lows, then at the very least, you want to see this get taken out. Diba? If that gets taken out, then perhaps something na we should start considering na okay, sige, baka may reversal na nagaganap dito sa MRC. Whether it be a short-term reversal or a long-term reversal, we don't know. Okay? Now, some of you may be thinking, di ba dapat dito, baka may ano na yan, tawag ito, may divergence, dapat trade na. But again, divergences are not a signal to trade. They are just, kumbaga, an early warning device telling you that something might happen, but that something doesn't have to happen. All right? And if I'm looking at this, even in hindsight, there really wasn't a good level to trade this from. There was no good quote-unquote signal to trade this from, at least not for me. Okay? Now, from here, if we can again go back up 0.2, I think that would be a good sign. Pero kung kunwari, umikot tayo, bumaba, binabaan natin tong range lows na to around 0.17, then I think number one, either mabalikan natin yung mga lows na nag-form dito, or finally mabalikan na natin yung support at 0.167. Yang support na yan, galing pa po yan all the way dito. Alright? Itong previous level of resistance na yan. Okay, we turned a bit before it, pero para sa akin, we have never really touched this area of previous support. So the possibility exists na kung umikot man to, baka basagin natin tong range lows na to, and if we do, we might come all the way back sa 0.167. And if 0.167 breaks, the next level of support medyo malayo na, 0.139 na. Alright? So, those are just the things that I'm watching out for dito sa MRC. Ngayon, yung nag-request itong MRC, if you can be a bit more specific lang, what it is you saw or what it is that you want me to look at, we can discuss this even further. But I think, okay, based on how I personally look at charts, baka mas maganda panoorin pa muna to ng konti. I think I have an inkling of what you're seeing, but I think hindi pa siya gaano hinog. Kung kunwari, marami kang kapital, gusto mong mag-ipon, syempre hindi naman po namin kayo mapipigilan, but consider being a bit more patient and watching things develop rather than, FOMOing into a trade. Yes, tomorrow this could very well just explode and go to 221, go higher. I don't know. All right? But based on the structure alone, I would personally rather wait and see na may confirmation na tayo, meron na tayong magandang entry before I jump in rather than chasing it where it is now. Kasi, number one, malapit na yung resistance. Number two, malayo yung invalidation point. So, the risk-reward will not be great. Alright, and then finally, tignan natin yung CNPF, no? Now, tong CNPF, ano nga ba nangyari since we last looked at this? Nag-range tayo dito, bumaksak, came back, tested itong level na nag-form dito, which was an inflection point, previous support, resistance. Nakahanap tayo ng resistance dito at 26.75, and from there, we pushed lower. Nag-range tayo dito sa wide range na to, from 19.8 all the way hanggang 24.6. And then when we broke out of 24.6, nag-pull back tayo, binalikan natin tong previous area of consolidation kung saan nakahanap tayo ng reaction, and then we started pushing higher once again from there. Now, given all of that, number one, we can say na we are caught within this range in the middle. Bakit hindi ko inusog yung mga levels ko? Kasi para sa akin, hindi pa tapos yung structure. Yes, I could very easily adjust my levels, put my support here, put my resistance there, but ang lapit lang nila sa mga previous levels, and I feel like hindi pa naman siya exactly tapos. So I don't feel a great need to do so just yet. So what I would like to see from here is number one, kung mabasag natin tong 26.75, break above, start holding dito, then perhaps we can push higher, revisiting these previous highs from before. And syempre, kung nabasag natin tong previous 52-week high na to, then that's a good thing. Diba? Bagong price exploration tayo, we will likely start pushing higher from there, and then we can reassess once that happens, ano yung mga pwede natin gawin dito sa CNPF. Ang ayaw nating makita is her price number one to come down. Okay, una-una pa lang, ayaw ko na ma-take out tong low na to eh. Naging inflection point na yan eh. Yes, I didn't mark it, but I'm aware of it. So if we take that out, test from underneath, hold, likely babalikan natin yung bottom end ng range. And then we have to reassess. Ano yung itsura ng structure by then? Range tradable ba siya? Maganda ba itsura ng range niya para i-trade ko? Kailangan nating hintayin na mag-develop yon bago natin masagutan yung katanungan na yon. Now, kung mabasag altogether tong 21.8, then it's highly likely we start digging deeper. Baka balikan natin tong area of support na to where price went to before. Diba? Around 19.8 to 20 pesos, more or less. So kung bumalik tayo dyan, okay, i-reassess natin kasi by then, kung ganun nga kalayo yung binaksak niya, I need to start thinking na, teka, bakit nandito na to ulit? Yes, it could be range trading, pero bakit ang lalim? Bakit hindi lang tong range na to? Bakit hindi lang tong tighter range na to, which would be even better? Why dig so deep? Pagka ganon, kailangan mo na talagang isipin na bullish pa ba ako dito? Ano na ba itsura niya overall? Ano itsura niya sa higher time frames by then? Okay, for now, hindi pa po natin masasagutan yon. We're gonna have to wait and see how things play out. Okay? Now, kung kunwari sabihin naman natin na okay, mabasag niya to, tapos mag-range tayo ng very tight dito sa gitna na area na to. Pag ganon, the best thing to do, at least for me, is to just wait and see how things develop before reanalyzing the chart and making up your mind once again whether or not CNPF is something that you want to trade. So guys, dito po nagtatapos yung video natin, no? I hope nakatulong po to sa inyo kahit konti and may natutunan kayo kahit papano. And if so, I would really appreciate it if you give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And as always guys, maraming salamat po sa panonood. I really appreciate it. Good luck and happy trading!